to all of you for coming to Tempe and to ASU. I hope you've had a great session. Just a little bit about a bit of background here. As noted, I have the pleasure of being the university's Chief Information Officer. For many, many years, I've thought of that role as actually being a smart city architect, because that is actually, after all, what all of you do, and that's actually also, those of us in the technology world, that's what we do as well. And I've also never lost contact with the classroom. I continue to teach here along the way. And one of the central propositions, which you'll see in the next slide about ASU, that I want to share with you is that our commitment to digital equity or to the use of technologies to support inclusion is something that is near and dear to my personal heart as well. I have a lot to try to cover in the 30 minutes attended to. I'll try not to bore you too much. Hopefully just by talking fast, I'll keep some of you awake. And I do want to give you some insights into the digital twin piece. Picks up nicely from where Aaron just left us off. And maybe a bit of a call to action for all of you. Because I do want to make the point that this is the community partnering with the technology community that I think is absolutely and fundamentally poised to support the future of the technology and the facilities use on campuses going forward. So again, certainly by now, having heard from a number of ASU folks, you know that we're trying something completely different here, what President Crow calls the New American University. And it starts with this charter commitment, which if you haven't been on campus, and I know there are campus tours coming up right after lunch, you'll see this basically chiseled everywhere on this campus and our other 3 campuses across the valley. And fundamentally, it focuses in on, again, an inclusive agenda, focusing in not on who we exclude, but who we include in their success, focusing in on a research program which is focused in on public value and really in the public interest, and then being of service to the communities around us. And I'll try to say a couple of words about each of those in the context of digital twins and AI and things that we should all be thinking about going forward. And we'd like to, from time to time, crow from the top of our own treetops, but we really have focused in on not just being an innovative university for many years now, more than a decade of being ranked #1, but also as it specifically relates to this community, focusing in on sustainability. And again, just today, President Crow, who again is quite the interesting individual, was actually just selected to be one of Time's top global 100 champions of sustainability. And so one more check mark for ASU and for President Crow. And obviously trying to focus in on our impact, not only in our backyards, but around the world. So again, I think probably most of you have learned a little bit about ASU by now. About 183,000 students, 64,000 of which are actually here from the Arizona community. Continued a great tradition of public universities. 1 out of every 3 of our students is actually first gens still to this day. Having just come through Veterans Day, just to acknowledge we're the largest university in the country with respect to veterans enrollment. We've literally made that a focal point, having gone really from just about 2,500 20 years ago to now 18,000, which is a record for us. And again, we have significantly involved ourselves in the life of our global community, inviting more than 15,000 international students to campus. And I think what's sort of most important to sort of realize is that while I know a lot of our industry is sort of at stasis, and perhaps sometimes we now read about some decline, ASU continues to be on the growth pattern that you see here, broadly speaking. And most importantly, because I want to sort of shift gears here into the blending of digital with residential here, is the fact that about half of our students are pursuing 350 degrees online, taught by our faculty, designed by our faculty, and the other half, of course, here on campus. And it seems to me that the facilities and the technology community meet at that hybrid point between the traditional campus experience and the experience of students who are living online. And again, picking up from Aaron's point, that is our reality. That is that kind of the reality of our futures together, is to understand how to build a integrated experience for our students from the moment they express interest all the way through to hopefully their success here on campus. And so what I really want to do then is just spend a couple of moments talking through about how we could think about the world of digital twins. And again, this community probably needs no history lesson here. But this is the community. You are the community that historically actually gave us the notion of digital twins. It's actually, BIMs were the original kind of framing of trying to use technology to create sort of the use of facilities. And even if we go back further to Sutherland's work back in the 60s, the original work on really creating what became known as 2D CAD. I remember the very first go around of 3D CAD in the late 80s on my SGI02 little graphics rendering machine that I took all over the world to talk about how you could be thinking about smart cities and smart campuses in a dynamic way, not one that was only two-dimensional along the way. And so, again, when we think about sort of the value of thinking about digital twins, this is a little bit of a mid-journey. The next slide will be a little DALL-E. When you ask the AI tools that are out there, give us a picture of the future with a whole bunch of parameter settings around sustainability, global impact, and student success. Those are the things that ASU cares about. We very much are thinking about ways in which we can not only look retrospectively, which of course analytics allows us to do, and not only present snapshots, which for example, taking a look at all the Wi-Fi insights that can be generated and lots of other sensor technologies that can be used, but also being used as a way to actually guide a dialogue and conversation around choices. Choices for how technology facilities can be utilized to help us think about tomorrow. And one of the fun things to be thinking about is, this still represents a kind of facilities or a residential experience or a campus experience as outlined here. When I asked DALL-E, which is again a product which hopefully some of you have had a chance to play with, what about the hybrid world? What about the world in which students are actually not only on campus, but we don't want to separate the worlds, like there's our online students and then there's our on-campus students. Give us a view of the future somehow in which I can give a visual representation of what it might look like in a hybrid environment. And this is what DALL-E came back with. I'm not sure if you'd actually agree with the same kind of insight, but it's a combination somehow of facilities that are both on campus in some way to, I don't know, see a bubble in which there's a blending of the two that are out there. But somehow we have to unleash our imaginations a little bit to be thinking about the interactions. And today we think about it in terms of 2D screens, bringing in the outside. Now we're seeing the use of Oculus and other kinds of headsets to try to create experiences that allow people who are both on campus and remotely to not only have an immersive experience, but to have an immersive experience together. That's a very interesting scenario, and maybe this begins to capture some of that. Our vision around AI, and the last two slides will give you some QR codes if you want to sort of follow the ASU journey a little bit more carefully. But really, our focus here on AI at ASU is central to our fundamental commitments that we have to our charter, those key outputs: student success, focusing in on research, and being of service to the communities around us. And yet, I think probably there are some skeptics in the crowd. I'm sure you guys have your own personal points of view. This is what has become known as the Amara's Law, in which we typically overestimate the extent to which the technology is going to have impact in the next year and grossly underestimate its long-term impact. And that's the moment we kind of sit at it right now around AI and all things digital twins. Certainly there's and we're responsible in the technology community for a lot of the hype cycle that's underway right now. But this is a really important moment for us all to consider, what kind of race do you want to be running in? Do you want to be not in the race and just wait for things to happen? Do you want to be in the race and run a marathon and so pace yourselves accordingly when it comes to AI and digital twins? Or do you want to run a series of sprints that are out there? And to pick up on the agile versus waterfall, what you're going to hear about ASU is that we're very much focused in on that agile approach of running a series of sprints, which is actually part of the language that is used in agile methodologies as well. And we started actually, and again, this is unfortunately a couple of screen shades here, but I will just simply share that early in January of this past year, we opened up a partnership with OpenAI and began to essentially define with them how AI would be utilized across universities, not only for ourselves, but across our industry as well. We had a series of key kinds of sort of foundational pieces of it, focusing very much in on a series of outputs, one around innovation, our hallmark here at ASU, focusing in on creativity, being ethical, we call it principled innovation here at ASU, along the way in terms of making sure we do things in that context, and then making sure that when we're thinking about AI, digital twins and the like, that we're also focused in fundamentally around making sure that it's accessible to all. And so let's just take one step back here. What is in fact a digital twin? Again, it's not that this crowd needs too much of a primer on it, but fundamentally, it is an opportunity to use the technology that allows us to do not only scenario planning, but actually the actual act of planning together in a way that allows us to create real-time insights that allow students, faculty, staff, and professionals like yourselves to guide that future master plan or a particular event plan that needs to be developed along the way. And why does AI fit into the mix? What's brilliant about this sort of moment that we're living in right now is actually the opportunity to be thinking about it around leveraging data in ways that we've historically not been able to do, and that we as humans aren't necessarily all that good at actually being able to break free of our mindsets that have us as professionals who've been working in the field for a long time. We just expect to recognize the patterns before they actually happen, and so we can say, yes, been there, done that, and this is how it's all going to work. The machine doesn't have necessarily those biases. It has other biases perhaps, but it actually recognizes patterns based on the data. And what's even more fun in this case is that we can put actually gaming engines on this and allow the whole community to experience the dynamic ways in which the technology can get deployed in the planning and the execution process. So again, what's been terrific in the way that we've begun to play with the technology here is actually in allowing us not only to create scenarios, but also performance. In my case, performance of the university network. In your performance, it could be any of the utilities, roadway systems, and the like. And not simply use, again, historic data, not only using statistically projected data, but a whole series of environmental inputs and other kinds of inputs that allow us to do the what-if scenarios that are underway and to try to build them accordingly. But of course, at ASU, where we start is with the education world and trying to think about how to think about creative uses of the learning spaces of the future that are out there. And actually, what's been most fun in our work with AI and digital twins is we've actually built the entire Tempe campus in world, meaning there is a digital twin infrastructure for the entire environment that is out there, and allows, first of all, our students to build that environment. So that was a huge undertaking with hundreds of students along the way, and not only building the what as is set of facilities that are out there, but also allowing students from different disciplines to come together to learn how to use these tools inside our next lab, which I don't think is on your campus tour, but it's certainly worth another visit to see us. And what we started to do was to actually build out a virtual reality environment with AI avatars, which allowed students, whether they were here on campus or one of our, again, 90,000 or so students who were primarily learning online, a chance to actually visit any of our campuses, and not only to visit them in a kind of remote fashion, but actually to create new kinds of learning spaces, as was just mentioned in the previous quick talk here, that there is this blended reality that classrooms are being utilized less by traditional students, but actually the use of the overall learning environment is going up. And so we've got a number of classes that are being taught what we call ASU Sync, in synchronized fashion, both with students on campus in a traditional classroom, along with those that are remote. And again, the remote folks are coming in not just watching Zoom, but also as avatars in that space. In fact, students who are in the classroom can also be avatars in this unique space, which is the one that is virtual, both online and in in-world scenarios that are there. So that's a really, again, we're doing live events, performances, music events. We have conference events that go on in this space, again, all built by, in large measure, our students along the way, and allow us to do a wide range of things, including the opportunity to actually help us create a community, even at our scale, that feels intimate and students actually feeling like they belong. And belonging is a huge part of the post-pandemic challenge that we're at. we use our technologies to constantly be engaging our students in that journey together to help us be inspired and them to be inspired as well by the environments in which we're working on, both on-campus facilities as well as those that are remote. And in that environment, trying to very much think about new kinds of spaces that are there, spaces that are actually going to be planned for not just what we think of today as cutting edge, but what will the learning environments of the future need to look like when AI is not just a new flashy new thing, but becomes fundamental to the ways in which learning takes place, in which the traditional use of didactic learning environments, or the traditional use of case method, or the traditional in which we've built facilities to support those methods are now not just being augmented by AI, but could literally be foundationally significantly different. And so what we've done here is, again, as I mentioned, we have actually created a lab on campus, which is just a stone's throw away from here, which really allows our students and faculty to test what's coming next in an AI, using digital twins, leveraging AI, and literally having student groups come together from all across the campus to actually challenge the students to create those spaces of the future that are out there, and literally allowing students the skills of the future, giving students insights into the work that they will be inheriting in the next 25 years or so today, which is, after all, why we are at universities and why we think this is such an exciting opportunity to be here. Is also, again, opportunities for creating these collaborative spaces. Some of them are much more like maker spaces that we've certainly created all across the campus ecosystem. Again, many of these being designed first in a digital twin environment, that is to say, in a way in which we can make changes without the cost of the very, very expensive after-the-fact ripping and tearing of walls and or parking lots and or other kinds of technology requirements by doing those what-if scenarios in digital. And again, leveraging all kinds of new technologies to support not only our sense of what the technology is today, but also trying to predict the ways in which they might be in the future. Therefore, again, trying to create technologies that can be deployed, that are not fixed to the ground, but rather significantly flexible in their use, and allows different kinds of pedagogies to be deployed, experimented with by our faculty innovators that are out there. And again, for this community here, no doubt, one of the other pieces that concerns all of us is how to be, and especially in processes that can take 10 years, 5 years, even accelerated in San Diego into 4 years. How do we actually use the technologies for space utilization opportunities here? And again, what's really quite wonderful about the use of the technology, I think the Wi-Fi is an excellent example of it, is a way of using the technology and building of digital twins to identify the opportunities that are in play, certainly along the way. And again, one of the other pieces that we're all mindful of here is certainly, and certainly here in the desert, the key of actually taking a fairly substantial $50 million plus utility bill and trying to figure out how to optimize that experience through the use of real-time insights that are coming from the telemetry network and the ways in which we can, again, run those scenarios in a digital twin along the way. And sometimes, our actual architecture community here actually inspires those of us in the digital. So it's not just that the digital folks, we hope from time to time, are able to inspire architects and others, but also the other way around. And again, I trust this will be on your campus, for some of you on the campus tour to CISDB7. This is literally borrowing a very inspiring use of the biomimicry of actually the cactus itself in building a shell for one of our most recent technology innovation facilities here, committed to not only LEED certification, but also to the use of the kinds of tools, kinds of insights that come from playing with the way biomimicry can inform our skins of our buildings. Again, many of those done in partnership using digital twin technologies, which allowed us to play and play and play and play until until we got what we thought was right for the build. So that's sort of on the campus. Again, just some other quick examples of the ways we use digital twins for outside of the campus. This is to the third part of our mission around being of service to the community around us, along with Steve Burrell, who's here, working to actually work together on using our tools, or AI tools, and our tools for digital twins to sort of map out the educational needs for the entire state of Arizona, and allowing us to use those tools to project current education needs in the community and future scenarios that are there, together with a whole bunch of technology partners to try to actually plan the infrastructure needs for the future that are there. We have built throughout the valley a series of community-based hives. Those are facilities that are in the community where we have something called the ASU Local, where ASU is in the community. But those hives serve as a place to do skills development, training, health and wellness, using technologies to actually help the community leverage the technology. All of those hives were built as digital twins first, and constantly, iteratively, in an agile methodology, feedback from the community to try to actually get them to serve the community's needs. There's a whole bunch of these digital twin initiatives that are underway here that are in the context of things across the broader metro area, using, again, different kinds of planning horizons that are needed, management horizons, operating environments, and the like. Again, the library utilization was mentioned. That's certainly an important piece of the picture here. This is not only the campus, this is the entire Valley's public library system, and trying to help them understand where to be as the community continues to evolve over time. That's certainly a big piece of it, working with Esri on that project here in the Valley, taking a look at density of use and the like. Certainly also trying our very best to simulate the whole campus environment in terms of its, again, we're calling it the metabolism of the campus, in terms of taking a look at how spending scenarios might unfold together, optimizing different kinds of infrastructure investments that are there. This is a project that our students are actually leading in a lab called the Luminosity Lab, which you can see there, and I'm sure afterwards we're happy to share all of these with you. There's also a series of I think ways in which we in the technology community are using this. We measure all the actual, not only Wi-Fi, but also all of the network infrastructure, and we measure the ins and outs of all of our network to optimize where we put the next generation of network infrastructure in, not based on how the buildings were used 20 years ago or even 5 years ago, but actually being able to do all the planning on repurposing of the use into research buildings, or away from research buildings into classrooms, and trying to plan all of those along the way. So with just about 4 minutes left, just want to sort of share with you a couple of drivers for your consideration along the way. One, none of us were schooled in this. No one on your team today necessarily has the core competency to actually drive this work. And yet, I think the challenge to both you in the facilities community and us in the technology community is to realize that these new skills require new kinds of investments in our people. And again, trying to blur the lines between the facilities and the technology community by creating collaborative cross-matrixed organizations on projects and or collaborations together. This is a really big challenge, certainly in the technology community. I won't speak for Tim, but Tim and I have spent a lot of time chatting over beers about where do we get the talent and how do we develop the talent to be able to take advantage of the technology that we have in order to help ASU continue to be an inspiring place to attract students, not only in the facilities part of it, but in the overall experience that are there. Secondly, big challenge, and that's why I was so happy to take the offer to give you folks a quick set of insights here. This is about engaging the leadership on your campus as well. Hugely important piece of the puzzle here, to take the inspiration that the campus has and to allow us not only to create traditional architectural renderings of future uses, but to allow us to use the technology to create dynamic fly-throughs and what-if scenarios that can be changed, that don't cost a ton of money, better to put the money in the digital twin and make all the changes before you start actually making change orders in a construction project or in a facilities planning along the way. And that's about a different kind of mindset when it comes to leadership engagement along the way that are there. And then as I've tried to underscore in the short time that I have, really, this is a great opportunity to engage students. This is an unbelievable opportunity because this is not something that the students find foreign. In fact, most of our students in our next lab basically say, how come more of ASU isn't like this? Hands-on, shaping the future, having a chance to have input along the way, let them help us build it along the way. So again, I just want to share with you two last slides here to let you may all be thinking, or some of you may be thinking, okay, what do all these companies have in common? Some of you are smiling, some of you are snickering. Well, these were the disruptors, but none of these actually made it. So how do we know who to put a bet on? Is this the right time along the way? So this is something that I have a responsibility for helping the university always make a calculation. As an innovator, as a university innovation sort of champion, my commitment is as follows. One, there's a great technologist, his name is Alan Kay. He said the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And the best way to invent the future is to start. Now's the time to start. If you want to learn a little bit more about ASU's AI journey, here's a QR code, which you're welcome to take a look at. This is 70 different stories about the way in which we've used AI at ASU to actually engage in today's sort of whirlwind orientation to this opportunity that are there. And if you want to more generally keep an eye on things in the world of ASU, we have a web page, which is here. There's a QR code for that, which is not hard to remember. It's just ai.asu.edu. It has over 250,000 visitors from outside of ASU. It's become the place across, I think for sure, higher education and perhaps beyond for this kind of exploration and collaboration for the ways in which creative technologies can be used to facilitate and advance the future. So again, I leave you with the challenge. The challenge is, what kind of race do you want to be running in? You could choose to sit on the side and decide that first mover advantage isn't for me or for my campus. You could decide that you're just going to go slow and run a marathon and see if you can outlast the changes in the technology. Or again, you might draw inspiration from what I've said this morning to perhaps think about running a series of sprints along with ASU, a chance to compare notes with all of us here at ASU. And once again, thanks for coming to visit us. Thanks.